Hey, Demo Man, how you doing?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for joining me on today's podcast of Talking Mortal. Demo Man, a YouTube content creator for Mortal Online. Pleasure. All right. So we got the upcoming PTR, and the 10th, I believe, was the expected date. A couple other big things happening in the world of Mortal currently. Big news that Clean actually came out with a new promotional video talking
Oh,
about
clean,
Mortal.
clean it.
Yeah, yep. Clean recently just dropped this video. It says it's been a month since he dropped it, but I recently just picked this up, so I think this is going to be huge promotional value for the game. Um, I really
Yeah,
like what he did.
I've actually seen that one. That one is fantastic. When people ask me about the game, so that I don't seem like I'm shilling my own content, that's the video that I send them, and it's very well done. The first like I don't know 2-3 minutes is a good explanation of what the game is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think what he did with the snippets was actually really good. Just kind of like just showing better insight on what you can do in the game. And everything he has here is all original footage. Everything is
Yeah,
original content, which I think is freaking amazing. It's unfortunate that he's made certain choices in the game as for, places he's gone to, but, you know, he's still doing a good job promoting the game nonetheless.
I think he's. Yeah, I think playing with Odin Suit's probably a pretty good way to experience the game from his perspective. He's very casual about the game right now. Loves the game, doesn't have the time to play it, and Odin Seed can kind of shelter him and like get him right into the good stuff. And
Hmm.
from a selfish perspective of I want more people to play this game, it's good that content creators like him can jump right into the good shit, and that the rest of the world sees the good shit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely cannot hit him for that. I mean, he's he's in a position that he can place himself in Odin Seed, and I agree with you 100%. He has the protection that's going to be required of that type of position because he's going to get stream sniped otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we hate to say it, but it is going to be a thing in this game that's going to happen regardless. Stream sniping. And,
Yeah, anybody that says they don't is lying.
yeah,
It,
100%.
it's a thing. Unfortunate. This game is built from the ground up to be a fantastic YouTuber game, and no YouTubers cover it, which is sad.
Well, there was
Because this
that
game
one
has the best
guy,
narrative ever.
Lazy Peon. I think he came out with a pretty good video. I don't know if you
He
saw that
doesn't
one.
count. He doesn't count.
Well,
He's a theme park guy. He loves the World of Warcrafts of the world, so his opinion is a little bit skewed. I will give him credit on his most recent video. He did actually put the time in and give it a fair shake, and he has some very valid criticisms, but it's not generally his type of game, so I'd expect his opinion to be a little bit skewed.
oh yeah, 100%. I definitely think that because you said yourself, World of Warcraft. I mean, that game you don't really create your own content. The content's already there for you, pre-made. Unlike Mortal.
Yep.
Like I was discussing before with Goose last week. You know how the propaganda game is strong in this game specifically, where that's almost like content in itself. Because I was saying it's like a narrative where he's the main character of the game, right? And
Yep.
he may be the hero, he may be the villain, and in my perspective, he could, very well be the villain, silver tonguing everybody to do his will, right? I still have to get a.
There's a lot of people that like playing that way, and the world needs those people. Like people love to shit talk Tetsuya for killing noobs in the graveyard. The reality is, the graveyard would be a super fucking boring place if there wasn't the threat of death around every corner. And even though he's vilified and a lot of people don't like him because of that, I love that those people can exist in the world. And it sucks with all these guard towers that they've added recently that all of that stuff has kind of gone to the wayside and people have lost interest in being the bad guy.
Yeah, 100%. I remember there was a player in Bad Company. His name was Lord Faramir. He was a lancer. I think he's quit the game now.
Yeah.
But he used to sit outside Moki, had built a house right outside, and he would just lance on the main road and kill anyone who came up and down that road. And I thought that was really, like, it was annoying if you were on the other side of that lance, but it was like content nonetheless, where
Exactly.
you have a basically a quote unquote bandit outlaw. I don't know how you ever want to classify it, murderer who is out hunting people for their loot, right? So it gives you the opportunity to, hey, I gotta be careful when I leave, right? I have to make sure I know he's out there. I gotta be careful and be aware of my surroundings. So I think that's
Exactly.
huge. Yeah.
People often criticize the game at a surface level. One of the most common critiques that I hear, or revolutionary ideas that new players come up with, is, oh, you should be able to murder count for pets. And eventually they did make that so you can murder count for horses. But I heard that suggestion hundreds of times. I'm kind of a conduit for a lot of new players. There's not very many tutorials out there. So I have people reach out to me daily, sometimes multiple times a day, to ask me about like beginner level shit. So I hear the beginner suggestions and ideas constantly, and I heard that one, I don't know, 1,000 times. Oh, you should be able to murder count for horses. Well, what people don't realize is what you were talking about. If you've got a guy out there who's known to be out there, then you get your posse together and you go attack him. That's content. And then he gets his posse together, and now there's a fight. And now there's a reason to fight. And so player-driven content in a game like this, for when it's a sandbox, is fantastic. I don't know. You probably played World of Warcraft like I did back in the day.
Yep.
The best fights for me were always the leveling up fights at like Taran Mill, where I get ganked by some guy's main, I go get mine, I gank him back, he gets his boys, I get my boys, and all of a sudden now there's two guilds out there fighting over essentially nothing.
Right.
They're having fun, and Mortal does that super well. Other games don't. And so when people critique the game at a surface level, they don't think, well, that guy killing horses is actually kind of creating content for me. And I loved guys that killed horses, because I used to sell horses when I was a noob, so it would make the prices go up, which was really good.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's an aspect of the game that a lot of people are failing to see as actually a positive. Because I'm sure you're aware of the Southeast Alliance, which actually just became something new officially. The Eastern Alliance, which is now basically Enclave and RSA combined. I know they have the anti-player random player killing motto. That's
Is
like
that their motto?
yeah.
I know of them, but I don't know much about them.
Okay, yeah. So that's like they keep the Moki area as a noob-friendly zone where players can go and not have to worry about getting murdered. Which I think, okay, that's cool. You want to play that game loop, but then you're losing out on a lot of content, in my personal opinion, because like we just discussed, this is a game you run the risk of getting murdered at any time. Even when you're in a city, you can get mage banged and just die, right? And that's reality.
That part is a little bit frustrating, and that's coming from a guy who does that to people. The static charge thing, the whole miscreant thing, where they just cook if you're war decked with somebody, they just cook your pet in town. I don't know how to nerf it. I really don't have a suggestion. Normally, I think about these type of things until I have a suggestion, but I don't really know how to stop that, and I feel like that does hurt the game. Just you go AFK in town for 2 minutes and your horse just gets evaporated, and any loot that was on it is gone, or you get murdered for no real reason. They lose one rep and have to waste, I don't know, 10 minutes of their time running from town to town. It turns off a lot of new players. It doesn't provide any meaningful content. The people that are doing it are having fun, but it's such a fleeting thing that it's not going to drive the game forward in any way. What would you do to change that or fix that, or do you not even think it's an issue?
I mean, I personally don't see it as an issue. Sure, it's annoying. Sure that you can lose big, but it also makes me play in a way that makes me aware of my surroundings even when I'm in a city. So it's almost like a game loop in its own, where I see myself going to the bank, I got a stack of gold on me. Shit, should I maybe wait a second to go depot this? Who's in there right now? Who's around me right now? Right? So it's almost like the game loop being, I have to be aware if I'm going to get ganked.
But does that add value to you as a player? Do you enjoy that aspect of the game? Or
is
it just an annoyance that you're used to at this point?
I think it's more of just getting used to it. You know, I think getting into the game as a fresh player, I can definitely see the frustration in it on its own. I.
So let's take it a step further. Do you like gambling?
Oh yeah, I roll rings
Yeah.
all day long, baby.
So what happens when they add the gambling tables to the tavern and then Miscreant walks in and just fries you in your seat because you can't move your character?
You know, that is a very valid point, and I know that's something that Henrik has discussed, was tabletop games. So, that being the case, I think the best thing you could do to avoid that in the future, make it a little bit more interesting. If let's just do miscreants for an example. Let's just say they were preparing a spell that would inflict damage in the city, right? And they were in the view of a guard or proximity. I think they should be cut down, right? So I think that would, in an open table, there should obviously be goes posted up in like a room, right?
Turn
And
your reagents in at the door. No weapons allowed.
right, something like that, or like,
Yeah.
and then if they see you casting a spell, there's a time period, right, before that spell can even go off, right? If you that spell is getting prepared, I think that you should get cut down. I think that should be the situation there. So like,
Have you played a mage, or do you play a mage at all?
no, I'm a hybrid. I'm a hybrid.
So I can't tell you how many times I've started channeling a spell on accident and then had to cancel it because I just,
Right.
I'm adjusting in my seat and I hit a key and I start casting fireball in the middle of town and I'm like, oh shit, I fainted, I don't do it. If I got killed every time that happened, dude, I would be furious because it happens more than you would think.
Right. No. So you bring up a good point. You do bring up a pretty good point. I'm just trying to think of a way that could combat it without removing it from the game itself.
The only way I can think of would be a legit safe zone, or no weapons, no reagents. You can only bring gold in or something. If it can be exploited, it will be exploited. Everything that can be
Right.
exploited in this game has been. And,
Oh yeah, 100%.
that's part of the charm. I like that you can scam people. I like that you can kill people in town.
Mhm.
But the things that are cheesy, like miscreants, if you're war deck, they lose 1 rep, so
Mhm.
the punishment is almost non-existent. They risk absolutely nothing. They risk like, I don't know, 6 copper worth of gold. If there was a way to increase the punishment and then also make it so that they have to risk something to kill you, maybe tie magic damage to your armor, or I don't know, they're getting really into the weeds with this specific topic, but I'm worried about tabletop games not being utilized because people will kill others in town the second that they come in, because people will go to the tables with like 5K in their pocket to sit down and gamble for like 3 or 4 hours,
Right.
and they'll just get blown up. So we need to figure out a way to make that a reality, because you have to do that in town too. You're not going to be able to have table games out in some stronghold somewhere unless it's against just your guildies, and that only goes so far. Part of the
Mhm.
charm, part of the the appeal is being able to sit down at the blackjack table with the Kodo guy next to you and take all of his gold and be like, haha, sucks for you, and then like dip out, right?
Right.
So if I want to play table games against my friends, I can already do that. I did that today. I lost like 2,100 gold in the other stream earlier today.
So yeah, no, I thought that was actually freaking awesome. I don't know if you were talking about the same thing. There's that new content creator who was actually gambling in Meduli. He had a poker game going.
Yes, I joined it and I lost 2,100 gold.
That's awesome. I mean, it's super cool to see that, because it's something that's obviously going to come into the game. It's almost can be used as a testing platform to see if it can be something that can be worked, something that will be utilized. So it's good to see that people are in fact trying to utilize that system, and I think it creates another social content amongst the players, which I think is very, very cool and vital to the game's success. But yeah, I think I can actually, now thinking about it, get behind what you mentioned about when you enter the gambling den or the location, you should not be allowed in there. Like there should be some sort of like wall, not permitting you to go in if you have reagents or weapons readily available.
All they have to do is make it so that weapons can't be drawn and spells can't be cast. There's
Right.
some magic force field dampener that cuts off connection to mana or some crap. Make it into the lore, and that guards tie your sheath when you walk in or something. So that people don't have to go in there naked. That seems ridiculous, and nobody wants to play like that. But just your unsheath button no longer works, and casting spells no longer works. And if they did something like that and made it so that the gambling table is far enough from walls that people can't hit the tavern with fireballs, right? Then it'll be great.
Oh, surge through the building.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I like that concept. And actually, now I think about it, that's actually something that could be implemented as a whole, as just entering the city, and that would solve the general thing with just mage bombings in cities. But
yeah.
Again, you're thinking about it from another perspective where I'm trying to, like, I would never do it myself, me personally. Never have tried. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I did try to kill somebody yesterday at a bank. I
like the freedom. Like, I want to be clear. I don't want to take freedoms away from people and stop people from playing the game however they want. I ran Black Priest. We were known as a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
And we blew people up in banks, and it was super fun and it was super cool. But there's no big punishments for it, and
right. So I definitely think
and that was before the whole static charge meta, where you could basically cook somebody to death in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for the tamers that are trying to learn the game. They take a pet and they go to the little target dummy or whatever, and they spend 4 hours AFK boosting a pet, and then some dude spends 4 seconds and loses 1 rep to kill their level 100 plus Campodon. That's worth like 300-400 gold.
Yep.
I just log out, man. If that's me, I just log out. I'm done for the day. Who knows when the next time I'm going to log in is, and that just kills the game for no real benefit, really.
Yep. No, actually, you brought up a really good point there. I actually saw a tamer from the guild Tofu in Moenker today, and he was at the broker with a couple Jotuns, which I'm sure he was working on doing something with them, leveling regardless, doing a transport. Someone mage banged his horses with something, and he lost everything in less than 3 seconds. It was actually crazy. Because you're putting in all that work to, like you said, tame to a max level, and you're spending hours on that. Even with that, what do you call it? That skill that's an aid.
Animal care.
Yeah, animal care. It still takes time, right? Regardless of that. So, yeah, it's fucked up actually. It is actually fucked up when you put it like that. They spend hours, and then the guy takes out some reagents and spends a couple seconds, a couple silver, and then blasts all that progress away.
For sure.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
So what do you think about the new dungeon that's coming out?
I'm excited. He said clearly it's going to be more difficult. There's going to be a quote-unquote twist to it.
Oh, he always says shit like that, but...
Well, no. I mean,
Did he say anything more specific? I haven't been following up too much.
I took a shit ton of notes, and I said everything on the last week's podcast. But what he said specifically, I actually believe what he's saying when he said he's going to make it more difficult and it's going to have a twist. The reason I say that is because Meslar's Vault and Undercroft are fairly simple, straightforward dungeons. Yet with Meslar's Vault, they reintroduced the hidden walls, right? Yep. So they get to the boss room, yada, yada, yada. And if you're adding a twist to it, I'm thinking more Necro Dungeon vibes, right? You have the Invisible Ridge. It's kind of a puzzle in its own, right?
Yep.
So I'm thinking something along those lines, something that maybe hasn't been introduced into the game yet. Something.
So he said jungle. There's 2 real locations that it could be. It could be in the southwest by the keep, or it could be in the southeast by the cave.
I have a feeling it's in the south, because you know that whole... Okay, so south of Unbroken Keep, the main keep, not the one, not Moki Keep, the Unbroken Keep south, that whole area is actually a non-build zone. The whole southern area. Right. And there's a shit ton of Salvia spawns over there, too. Like a shit ton. I have a feeling that's going to be the location we're discussing.
Tell us, Henrik. Are we right?
So
no build zones typically indicate future dungeons.
Right.
That platform northeast of Undercroft is unbuildable as well. The one that's right there on Sausage Lake.
But you also got to keep in mind that could be pre-placement ready for new POIs, right? Doesn't necessarily mean. Oh, he got disconnected. Uh-oh.
I'm back now.
He's back.
I lost you for a second.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So, what I was saying is, doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a dungeon, of course. I think that could also be just a placeholder for future POIs, right? Because that was something that he did discuss as well. Placing POIs in locations of nodes that aren't being as trafficked as usual as other locations. So, that's also something else to take in perspective as well. Because I know the whole, between Moenker and Toxai, a lot of that area is just completely unbuildable, right? The whole area is just, yeah, because we tried building a lot out there, and it was just nothing. It's like there was a bug, according to a GM, saying that it's too close to a home or another building, but there was no buildings in the area, right? So if that wasn't the limiter, we would be able to place TC structures in those areas, right? So the thought process on that is that there's invisible placeholders that are there for POIs.
POIs and dungeons for sure. The giant platform on the northwest corner of Sausage Lake is level and should be buildable, like you're talking about. But that's, from what I understand, where there was a big demon portal in Mortal Online 1. So you'd be able to go in there and spawn a boss or something like that. I've played Mortal Online 1 for like 5 minutes, so I haven't really played it. But I do talk to a lot of people who have played a shit ton of it, and anytime I have questions about that stuff, I run it through those guys, and that's what I understand, is that there's supposed to be a demon portal in that location. So
whether or
not it comes through.
Well, someone else was speculating that it's going to become an underwater dungeon,
which would also be cool.
Right, that goes under Sausage Lake.
That for Toxai, though. There was supposed to be the underwater entrance to Necro Dungeon, or whatever dungeon they were talking about, through Toxai, where you swim into Shiver Cave, and then you swim down through a tunnel, and the only way you can do it if you're not a mage is you have to have swimming, and you use the air bubble to survive, yada, 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 all that stuff. A lot of that stuff was in MO1.
Right. Well, let's actually talk about Necro Dungeon real quick, since we're on that real quick. So, the new alliance, the Eastern Alliance, which is Enclave and RSA that have combined to each other, they've recently went through and sieged a bunch of their structures and did a bunch of other things. Tianming, that we're referring to.
Good old snap, man.
Right. But yet, the real interesting part that I am trying to gather here is, how is Tianming still operating in that jungle so strong? So, my guild actually went out there the other day and got down to the bridge. And guess who's at the other end of the bridge waiting in full plate?
Was it Tianming, probably? Either that or a cult. Yeah. I have a lot of experience personally dealing with Tianming. A little bit of backstory, when Necro Dungeon came out, Black Priest got server first, and we basically ran the dungeon for a couple months. And then Tianming showed up and started getting more and more strong. They introduced the pet pathing patch, where the pet would teleport to you if it couldn't get to you. So then they were able to get pets across the bridge, and they were able to heavily contest us. And at the same time, we'd done the dungeon so many times we started to get bored. So we stopped camping it as hard. But credit to them, they are relentless. And the reason everybody says that they RMT is because, like, the only way that I can see that somebody would have that level of attention and spend that much time doing what they do is they got to be getting paid for it, man, because it is boring. They'll sit in the same spot right outside the door of the dungeon for hours on end with like 12 pets, and there's nothing you can do to get.
Oh, keeps disconnecting. Uh-oh. Hey, you disconnected again, brother. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, they treat it like a job, and they've done it for far longer than we did. We got bored after about 3 months, and they've been doing it for damn near a year now. And so they've obviously accumulated a ton of wealth. For perspective, the first 3 months that we ran it, really in the first 2 weeks that we ran the dungeon, we probably did between 300,000 and 400,000 gold worth of sales, just selling stuff. The bottleneck was not finding customers. It was like I didn't have enough guildies to run stuff to the towns to collect money. I'd have to beg people. I've got 5 buyers in Vada. I need somebody to go pick up 30,000-40,000 gold right now. Just somebody run this out there.
Right.
So Necro Dungeon, of all the dungeons out there, it's probably still the most profitable dungeon, and it's basically a money printer. So if your goal is to make as much money as humanly possible, that's where you sit. And if you're doing it for a living, that makes sense that they would run that dungeon.
Right. So
and if you're that wealthy, you also can buy people, and you can buy loyalty, and you can buy, you can get people geared up, and you're really attractive to players that want to play that type of lifestyle or have that type of gameplay loop.
Right. But the question then that I'm so curious about is that how is it that all hours of the day they just know when someone enters that dungeon?
It's pretty easy. There's one way in.
Technically, there's multiple entrances though, but
no, there's only one.
Well, no, you can jump in through the exit, right?
I don't know if you can still do that. You used to be able to do that, but either way, there's only one way in and one way out. So there's 3 splits, but it all leads to the boss room where they're sitting anyways.
Right.
And you only need one person to hold the bridge. If you have somebody with whirlwind, nobody's getting across.
So do you think?
Except for Black Priest, at one point we had people so good they could sprint the whole bridge.
Oh really?
Yeah. Nai was a good example. She would sprint the entire bridge nonstop, and we had guys that could run it backwards as well.
Oh wow, that's actually impressive.
Yeah.
I've just been wondering though, even though the quote unquote T Alliance is trying to siege Tianming out, do you think that they actually successfully will?
It depends. They have a near endless amount of resources, and if they're trying to do something, they have basically perfect focus, for lack of a better descriptor. If they want to do something, they throw bodies at it until it gets solved. I mean, we would win fight after fight against them, and they would just come back in waves. I remember one time we killed 12 of them at the boss room, and they came back with 25 guys, including 4 Solanos and 3 Tardogs and a max level T-Bird, all in the next wave, and just pushed us back out. So they work really well as a group. They have a lot of people. They have a lot of money now. They're probably the richest guild in the game, if I had to guess. So it'd be hard to unroot them. If you're looking to just do TC and knock down structures, that's not going to make any real impact unless you're able to sit on the boxes and stop them from transferring the loot out, which will never happen.
Right.
It takes days for that to unlock. So, I mean, think about it that way. If you take one of these guys, I forget the one that sells all of the Greater Walker Scrolls. You see her, I think it's Sophia or something. In every major city, if you filter Greater Walker Scrolls, you'll see the name.
Right.
That's a Tianming rep, or maybe even the GM. That person probably has over 1 million raw gold. So how many strongholds do you need to kill before they run out? It'd be basically impossible.
Yeah, it's like a endless war of attrition.
Which is part of the problem with TC. There's no real reason to fight right now. There's no real reason to hold territory. They need to add a lot to make TC even viable. And I said it before TC even came out, that TC is a very shallow design philosophy. It's basically been an ego match up until this point. The only tangible benefit you get from doing TC is knocking out your content, removing the things that provide you entertainment, your enemies, from the area for a brief moment in time. And if they have more than one building in the area, they just move to that one and continue on. So there's no power spike, there's nothing to be gained, there's no economic benefit. It's literally an ego pissing match, and when people get bored of it, which I think they're kind of getting bored of it at this point, it's going to fall flat on its face, and people will stop interacting with the systems. I actually had talked to Henrik before TC came out. If he's watching, he may remember the conversation, and I voiced concerns saying that, my guild is not interested in TC because we don't see any tangible benefit for it. What are the tangible benefits? What are the things that we can get? Oh, well, we'll do the relic system at some point.
Right.
Why are we launching these huge game-breaking or game-changing mechanics without any meat on the bones? relics would be fantastic. Do you know what relics are?
Yeah, I heard it was going to be a combat system for gathering these relics up at certain points in the map. I don't know if we much further than that though.
So a relic in Mortal Online 1 was basically, imagine a meteor falls from the sky and you can see it from miles away.
Right.
And the fire doesn't extinguish until a certain amount of time goes by. So it's basically a pseudo King of the Hill.
Right.
That meteor will only fall from the sky one time ever. And when you collect it, it turns into a relic, which is a extremely powerful artifact. One of them was like a stable that you put your pets in, and it would max level your pets after like 20 minutes.
Right.
So you could just basically print out unlimited max level pets, or a forge that would add like 100% durability on top of your normal craft, like things like that. But that relic would shoot a giant beam into the sky, telling everybody where it was at all times. So the way that you would defend it is you'd put it into your keep. That's why keeps had value, because you'd have defenses to hold these one-of-a-kind items, and that's what motivated people to attack you. Right now, the only thing that motivates people to attack each other is their ego, and that only goes so far. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely think there's obviously a lot of kinks that need to be worked out, and I think that they are going in a good direction at this point with the window siege timers that they're implementing during the PTR.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
I'm logging in to see how that goes. From my understanding of doing a bit more research into it, from my understanding, it's an overall siege window, meaning that it can siege any of the TC structures and not keep specific. So I'm not too sure how I feel about that. I feel like you should still be able to open siege strongholds and stuff like that. But as for a keep, I definitely think that the timer is something that's necessary. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I haven't heard that suggestion yet where you differentiate for keeps, but I'm not opposed to it. I kind of like the freedom. I think maybe you do like a 12-hour window for everything except for keeps, and for keeps you do an 8-hour window. And that way, if you play a reasonable amount, you'll probably be online if your building gets destroyed or gets sieged. Right now, it doesn't really matter because there's no real reason to hold any of this stuff other than ego.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because you could just loot it, and I think that's something that should be looked at. I think you should. Honestly, we need to be able to loot decorations. We need to be able to loot the legacy Equirium priests. We need to be able to loot the tables. We need to be able to open the chests as soon as the building's been destroyed. Like in Rust, people raid each other for the resources. I think that's something that should be implemented in this game. There shouldn't be a timer where he's like, oh, hey, you destroyed their structure, but you got to wait, 3 days until it's lootable for you. The owner can loot as much as they want within that 3-day period.
So the risk, the way they designed it was, they don't want it to be as hardcore as Rust, as fluid as Rust, because it takes a lot longer to develop the resources
100%.
and gather time. So I'm in the same boat. I think that you should be able to raid people for their resources, and it should work a lot faster than the way it does now. But at the same time, you have to walk that fine line of making people rage quit. Mortal actually does a pretty good job of being on that line where it incentivizes enough PvE players to play the game so that they actually want to log in and go do stuff, and then it incentivizes PvP players to log in that are going to go out and kill those PvE players. Because what historically happens with games like Mortal is the PvE guys have no real interest in it, so they leave. The guys that are left over are the PvP guys. They end up killing each other and cannibalizing their own community. And then the only guys that are really left over are the die-hard sweaty guys, and they don't really want to fight each other anyways because they get their jollies from killing people that are worse than them. And if they're fighting nothing but Giga Chads, it loses interest really fast for them. So you have to walk the line of, how hard does it really need to be to completely wipe somebody off the map? Because if you make it so that people can loot resources out of houses, what's going to end up happening is nobody will put any resources in houses.
Yeah,
so then you have no real reason to live out
and shit. Right.
And so you'll raid somebody to get resources. What you'll end up doing is cracking open a couple chests that are filled with half Dura steel swords and reptile sets, because that's the only thing that the guild rules allow you to have in a house that could be potentially stolen from you.
No, yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it's something that needs to be genuinely thought thoroughly about, because you bring up a really good point that does obviously pressure people not to store in their homes at fear of loss, at hard-earned materials or whatnot, right? For example, a great example, my guild and we looted a Decayed Stronghold yesterday night, and we got a Legacy Priest, a Legacy Equerry out of the house chest. We got some Chronite. We got stacks and stacks of other shit. But if that group of people were still playing, they had their keep or their stronghold siege down. Obviously, if we were just able to go on there immediately and loot all that shit right away, that would be probably a huge deterrent from logging in ever again.
Correct.
Right.
The net benefit is you had fun for 5 minutes. They left the game forever. So
right.
That's their risk. That's what you have to design around. How do we give people continuous fun without making people rage quit forever?
Right. Right.
Unlike Rust, where I can, if I log in and my house is gone, I'm like, fuck it, I'm out until next Thursday.
Right. Or I can log in and I can snowball an AK's metal kit real quick. Right. Yeah. 100%.
This game doesn't have that. If I lose everything, if I logged in today and I went to Fabrinum and my bank was wiped, I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? It would be way more impactful because it's 2 years worth of build-up.
Oh yeah, 100%.
One week of build-up.
Yeah, like if all my gold in Fabrinum vanished tomorrow, I probably wouldn't log in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's I would log in if there was a wipe. And that's a whole other topic. I'd love for them to be a one-time.
Oh yeah, I think there should be a wipe. There's so much duplicated items in this game from the early stages of GK that I definitely believe that a wipe would be helpful. But then I feel like that is also another situation that you're going to deter those players from ever logging in again that have actually genuinely worked for what they own.
So I want wipes for a different reason. A lot of people bring up the duplicated items.
Mm-hmm.
Really it wouldn't fix the economy. It would just change the economy. It would put a hard reset on it, and different things would hold more value. A topaz would be, obviously be way more valuable on a ring in the beginning.
Right.
Finding a fulminate scroll would be valuable. Things that don't matter anymore would matter again. But the main reason that I'd want a wipe, a one-time wipe, is the game is noticeably better than it was when it first launched.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
I think the game was basically in beta up until maybe 3-4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
3-4 months ago, the game started to really feel polished. They fixed almost every major bug. A lot of the bugs from ML1 that carried over, almost all of those are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I know of a very small handful of bugs that still even exist in the game. So the game is in a fantastic state. And the way that the gaming community works is they don't come back to a game. They look at it for launch, and then they brain dump it because there's 10 more games coming down the pipe.
Right.
But a relaunch would bring those people back. It would give that, at one point there was 10,000 people trying to log in for launch.
Right.
Only like 1,000 actually got in. So 9 out of 10 people that wanted to try the game never even had the opportunity to. And those people coming back, you'd be able to maybe even start a different NA server, so you could have an NA and an EU server like every other game on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So it would drive population up. It would be great for the overall health of the game. And what you said, where certain people that have huge banks built up,
mm-hmm.
those people would come back for the sheer excitement
of being able to grind it out again.
Be able to grind it out again. Dopamine feels good. The people that have big banks like
right.
that. Bank is a perfect example. The character Bank. He's probably the richest guy in the entire game.
Right.
That man plays for the dopamine drip of progression and nothing else. Like most of us, he plays because he likes to see small numbers become big numbers.
Yeah.
I had a funny conversation with him, I don't know, 8-9 months ago. He was one of the richest guys in the game. He would continuously come out in Incisium. In Incisium with a steel sword, and that was it. And I had to pull him aside, bro, and be like, bro, let's do the math. How much are you worth? Okay, you could come out 2,347 times with full steel and a Chronite sword and die every single time with making no progress and still have money. Can you please start bringing real shit out? And he was like, okay, fine.
You bring a really good point. I mean, I thought about it initially. If I lost my stacks of gold tomorrow, I would not log in. That's a lie. I would definitely log still back in. I mean, you're talking about a game that checks marks for me all the things I'm looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when I make gold in this game and I have a lot of it, I feel like the shit, I guess, in a way. I'm not too sure if that's the best way to look at it. But no, I feel definitely a high. And I just enjoy looking at the bank and seeing the stacks of gold, right? I enjoy rolling rings as well and then saying, oh, fuck yeah, I just got 11%, right? And
there's a difference between your bank getting wiped and everybody's bank getting wiped.
Right.
Because what brings you back when everybody gets wiped is your boys. Your boys are all fucking hyped. Bro, let's go for fucking
white pipe.
GK Stronghold,
yeah.
man. Let's go for GK Stronghold. Like, you make a game plan. Okay, how many people are playing mages, bro? How many people you're going to be? We need more mages, man. Who can play mages, right? And, like, those conversations are exciting. And I would love to have those conversations for real, like making a game plan where Kodo didn't get a shoe in to their stronghold for a year and a half before anybody was even able to kill.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think it would be game changing. I think we'd see a lot of the changes around the map for whoever's holding the keeps, because everyone would be on equal footing for sure. And I think that sure, some of the larger Zergs will gain opportunity in the locations that they would prefer. But I do think the overall game would be a lot different than how we see it today. And I think that you are right.
They should, though. They should.
Right.
You know, if you put in the effort, you get the rewards. And you know, nobody's saying that Kodo didn't put in efforts when wipe happened. But
right.
The problem was there was no way to take it from them for years.
Right. 100%.
So they were able to, you know, artisans. I went up and fought some artisans the other day on their keep because somebody told me that you can find a bunch of artisans up there mining basically AFK because they have this like entire platform to themselves.
Right.
They have a keep up there with as much Granum as they want. They have bandit spawns and outlaw spawns all over the place. Everything that they could possibly want to farm is up there right next to their keep, away from everybody and everything. So they had the tangible benefits of being able to run that for years with nobody able to even contest them, even if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that alone is super unfair. It would be cool to see the community shape up, and everybody is right. Everybody that says we'd be back to the same thing 2 or 3 months later, yes, with one major caveat: the player count would be way higher.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what really matters.
Because you got Hendrix doing a great job pumping out new content, bug fixes, quality of life fixes. He ever since sub has come into effect, the amount of updates and things that we're seeing is really crazy, especially from a developer aspect. I don't know if he's already had all this stuff pre-prepared, waiting for it, and then releasing it in the way he's doing with the quote-unquote sprint system. But if he continues to pump out updates like that with a wiped game, you're looking at a population of players that's not only going to be a lot higher, but staying around for the long term, just because of the fact that he's constantly bringing out new content and fixes, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely think that you bring out a huge valid point, and that's something that should be truly thought about. I'm sure it has been thought about. I'm sure that it has been talked about. I think that there's just the fear that it doesn't go the way that we're thinking about, you know?
Yeah.
I think we're running that singular risk that it could go the complete opposite way.
It's a big gamble.
Yeah.
I think that it's a gamble worth talking about and considering, especially if you're listening, Henrik. When I first came over to this game, I was coming from New World and I was hunting for a game to play. Ironically, I got laid off the week that Mortal Online came out. I tried the beta. I hated this game. I thought it was trash. Came back because I got laid off and I was looking for a time sink. Ended up falling in love with the game. I love Mortal. I think it's great. I was running a guild of about 80 players on New World, and I asked them, hey guys, I'm going to go play this game. Would anybody like to go with me? And basically everyone said, well, is there an NA server? No, there's not. We won't even consider it. There's a large portion of the population that won't even consider it. And when you talk about modern day technology and server capacities, even though their server meshing and what Mortal does is extremely impressive, the server still really struggles when you get up to around 2,000 players. Around 1,800, you start to have heavy server crashes, and if everybody tries to get into the same spot, if everybody crams into Meduli, you still have a lot of problems with the servers. I mean, it's modern day technology. There's nothing Star Vault can really do to fix that unless they want fast time. So if you do have a big popping off moment where somebody picks up the game and you have 10,000 people trying to log in, the two options are alternate servers like we had before for launch, or new servers for North America and the EU. And all the veterans want that, man. I can't compete in Melee on an even footing against other players from Europe. I counted the day that I stopped being a footy, I dueled my friend Ganondorn, and he hit me 3 times while parrying. His weapon was up in a parry animation, and he hit me 3 times. So people say that it's not that big a deal. There's good players from NA. The hard fact is players from North America and especially from Australia operate at a huge handicap.
Oh yeah,
There's nothing you can do to fix it.
I 100% agree with that statement. I don't like to talk about that, but that is the truth of the matter. I mean, I'm on the west coast of the U.S. I have a pretty shitty end of the stick. I actually did a test. I didn't record it because I still don't want to really focus on it as much because, I want to keep playing the game and stay motivated. But we did a test, and yeah, exactly what you mentioned. Their parry would still be up, and I'm somehow getting hit instantly as soon as the parry drops, and then they're already ready to parry my reply, right? Yeah. So I even tested it with the NPCs. It was bears specifically, actually, that I noticed there was a issue. I was trying to parry the bear, and by the time the animation for the bears left or right or whatever was coming through, I would get hit, and even though my sword would be up to the expected parry location, I would still be getting hit. I had to actually predetermine where the bear was going to hit me before I could do anything just to be able to block it. I would have to predetermine the bear's hit. When the animation started, I'd already be too late.
It's brutal, and it's really hard to make that argument because the game is so subjective and it's all split second. We're talking about fractions of a second here is what we're really talking about. So it's hard to quantify that emotionally. But I did have a guildie who was, he lived in America. He was serving in the army. He played 1,000+ hours on Mortal from North America, and he actually got deployed to Germany, and his ping went down to like 40. So he got to he's played with both.
Right.
In his opinion, at least, it is night and day different playing from Europe.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I used to be a competitive player for Rainbow Six Siege and other games, right? I was actually in the pro league scene for Rainbow Six Siege. I hated playing on East Coast servers. I refused to play with my team on East Coast servers. I would only play, the closest would be Central servers, just because of the ping. And I know that's not sounds like a huge difference, but it was a night and day difference when playing West Coast to the East Coast. Because just that those millisecond delays are game changing, especially in an FPS shooter, especially in this game, Mortal Online. It's a very competitive game when it comes to the combat. It's a one-of-a-kind combat system where it's also ego too. You got to keep that in mind too. Yep. A lot of ego in Mortal Online combat, and it sucks ass, and it feels really shitty when you know you could beat this person, but you're losing partially because of those millisecond delays in the combat. Especially,
it's nothing that they can do to fix it either.
Oh yeah, nothing at all.
They do it better than anybody. Giving them credit. I know you're listening, Henrik. You guys do it better than anyone, and and there's nobody even in the ballpark trying to figure this out. If somebody came to me and pitched the idea of a single server, twitchy like melee game, I would be like, no, that's like impossible. There's no way to do it. So you do it better than anyone. But I see in the chat you said next continent on North America. That's just going to take the same problem and exacerbate the issue. It's now everybody's going to go to North America, and the EU guys are going to get pissed off every time they have to duel somebody there. Everybody's going to want to play on the new server as well. It's the new continent, and it feels bad from a player perspective to give yourself a handicap. So what I mean by that is, if I want to go to the Necro Dungeon after Sarduka is out, so I want to leave the North America server where I have good performance to go farm to the Necro Dungeon, I have no choice but to step into handicap land where I'm gonna have problems fighting people, and that doesn't feel good. And when you're designing the game, players like to feel good. So you could, here's the hot take, is you don't have to wipe the server, but you could do fresh start servers. You could do a fresh start North America server and a fresh start EU server when Sarduka comes out, where both servers they're independent from each other. You have Mirrorland and you have Sarduka on one, and you have Mirrorland and Sarduka on the other, and you never have to go back on your word because you've said many times you won't wipe anything. Leave the legacy server up. Leave all of that up. What you'll find is most people will leave the legacy server because of wipe hype. They'll go play on new servers. New ecosystems and communities will develop like every other MMO on the planet that does this. And then you'll have twice as many people playing the game as you have now.
That's actually huge.
Eventually you can slowly take the legacy server offline because nobody's playing it, and you never broke your promise, you never betrayed your players, everybody got what they wanted, and you doubled your player base, and you guys make more money, and everybody has a good time.
Well, here's another hot take on that, actually. So if that was not the case, there's another scenario to think about. If Sarduka actually was released on NA servers, you would have to guarantee that the amount of PvE content and things to get in the current continent was available on Sarduka. That would make more sense.
Which is bad design too, right?
Well, it is bad design.
Feel unique.
Right. So it would be, but that would only be able to combat the handicap, as you mentioned, of going between continents, which I agree, it would be a pain in the ass to be used to fighting players on your own ping level on one side, and then when you move over, you get to this kind of state of sluggishness, right? And then blink attack, etc., right? So, I don't know, like it's a really difficult topic to think about. But I do think
one thing to consider from the developer's perspective. Sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
Is right now they get to not hide, but kind of stand behind the veil of confusion. It's a confusing system. Most people don't understand how it works. But when I get to stand in one part of the world and have fantastic ping, and I know what that feels like, and then I go over a node line into Sarduka, and I get to play, and it's completely different, that's going to highlight to everybody that the system is flawed, and people are going to get extremely frustrated. Because they'll be able to feel what it feels like on a very good system and a very bad system. Right now, they only get to play with what they get to play with, and they don't know any different. And when that veil gets lifted, you're going to have a lot of pissed off players.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. That's basically linking back to what I just mentioned with the going over to Necro, like you mentioned. You'd be experiencing playing on your own ping, and then re-experiencing how it felt originally, right? And then that would just be a really shitty experience overall. I completely do think and agree that the server edition should be thought about, and genuinely that could actually solve exactly what we were discussing with the possibility of losing the population versus gain, because not only are you still have the legacy servers up, right? You're giving them the options of playing on another server set to their own ping, right? EU, NA options, and brand new fresh slate. While you still have a legacy option on playing the EU server with your existing character, right? You're not only are you not breaking a promise, you're also enabling people to try it out and then say, holy shit, this feels fucking amazing. Is this what the EU players were experiencing? Along those lines. So I think that your take that you just mentioned, I think could actually be the biggest game-changing event on this game and can definitely promote the growth entirely.
If they go for it and they take the gamble of doing it that way,
it's not really a gamble, though.
He's talking about the problem of splitting the player base. I understand that concern, but you just do what every other MMO does, and you merge servers. And it sucks for the players that lose their house or whatever in those certain situations. You make it well known, hey, within a week we're merging the server. empty your buildings out. GMs will refund you for the price tag on it, and then we're going to wipe this map. We're going to delete this server, and then we're going to move everything back over to the legacy. If that system ends up failing, you could still do that. But if the system ends up working, you open up the doors to doubling, tripling, or quadrupling your player base. You open up the doors to everybody in North America that won't even consider this game. North America being the largest market on Earth, except for maybe China.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring in tons and tons of new players that you've never even seen before. And you do this in tandem with a big marketing push and the wipe hype and everything, and it would be electric. Everybody would be super excited. And if it doesn't work, you just go back to what it was and you merge everybody together. Everybody that's still playing the game is a lifer. Like the people that are still playing the game in the state that it's in, where we haven't had much, other than the dungeons, we haven't had much real content in about 6 months. People that are still logging in every day, they love this game. They're not going anywhere. And even if they tell you that they are, they're not.
They're still playing the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have noticed the influx of new players too. My time spent in Moen Kerr recently has really made me realize how many players have actually started playing this game fresh, brand new.
There's a lot of new people. My channel is doing really well. My channel is geared towards new people.
Yep, I've been noticing a lot of new people, new streamers, people I've never heard of, and it's freaking awesome. I think that even today when I was in Moen Kerr, some guy, his name was Sooca, asking me where the horse equerry was. I was like, holy shit, I haven't heard that question in fucking forever, right? And there's like...
ask those people, where did you hear about the game? That's what I always ask.
Yeah.
Like, how did you even hear about this game?
Right. Yeah, no, that's completely fair. And I think that with the videos that have released promoting the game's success from Lazy Peon, like I know you said that doesn't count, but I think that is still promotional material. And then...
No, it does count from promotional. I just think that his opinion is skewed.
Okay, fair enough. He had good things to say, though. He did have good things to say about the game.
He did,
yes,
and I liked that. He was very fair. I don't think his review was
Right.
unfair. One thing that I saw was interesting is Asmon did a video talking about New World, and they were looking at server population for New World. Well, almost all of the servers in New World, Amazon's giant MMO, have less population than Mortal. Most people don't realize that.
Right.
So Mortal being a single world, even though you look at Steam charts, you see 2,000 players or 1,500 players or 1,000 players, or whatever, and you a lot of people just write it off and think, oh, this is an MMO. It's basically dead. It's got 1,000 players. Everybody's in the same server, and there's more people playing this server than any other average server on New World. So this game feels more alive than New World does right now. Is New World dead? Probably. It's dying.
Yeah, I mean, that game was not... It was a horrible game. I mean, I'm not... Okay, so when I say that is they advertised... There was a lot of false advertisement that went into that game, right? There was a lot of things that they made the player base have really high expectations for and just failed to deliver completely. And you have to blame their company because Amazon is not a poor company, right? And that is a very large company. They have the means to make a good game, but they obviously have no fucking idea what they're doing. I'm just going to be plain and simple with that. And at least with Starvo, which is a small indie company with this very small group of people, they're able to deliver not only a very good network solution for an MMO, from what we've experienced thus far, but they've also been able to deliver on a lot of the promises. I know that people can argue, hey, like a lot of content was promised a long time ago, but I think we got to look at it in the way that we're experiencing a lot less of the buggy bullshit that we used to experience those years ago, right? I think we have to look at it from that perspective and then think that, holy shit, a small indie dev group actually produced this crazy-ass MMO that checks off all the, boxes for what an MMO should be. And it's a one-of-a-kind game. You can't compare it to anything else. There's really zero fucking games out there that have and deliver what Mortal Online delivers. So, as just perspective, I think that I might be a little biased, and it's not because Henrik is watching. Honestly, it's just how I feel. I've said it on every single podcast. I think that a lot of the negativity is just people talking out their ass, because at the end of the day, all those people are still playing the fucking game. Because they know there's nothing else. They know it's the best that they can currently get, and that Star Vault is currently delivering a lot of the promises made.
Star Vault does certain things better than anybody else, which is awesome. You're right. There's nothing else like it. If there was something else like it that did it better, I'd be playing that. But I'm not. And what really has held the game back is, A, we're not really doing any advertising, which is unfortunate. And I know they keep saying that they're going to keep spinning it up. I'm waiting to see that. I'd love to see some advertising. Henrik, that would be great. What I'm scared for, though, is if they do get a huge influx of players, how are they going to handle it?
Right.
And I know I've talked with Clean about it, and Clean has in turn talked with Henrik about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, what happens when the gates get knocked down and there's 50,000 players that want to join?
Right.
How the server cannot handle it. It doesn't matter how many nodes you spin up. We have alternate servers, which is a lackluster feature that pissed off a lot of people. So what's the plan then? You get 50,000 players that want to play this game because it's in such a good state, and Mr. Beast made a video on it or some stupid thing that drives all these people over. How would you handle that situation? The only answer is make new servers. Make an NA server, make an EU server. Do what every other MMO on the planet does, and have localized servers so that you can have good ping, and you can also have localized people. I like playing with people from America because they speak English and there's no language barriers. I like playing with people from Europe too, but there's a lot of other problems that come with that. Make the biggest thing being ping.
Right.
So if we have 50,000 people tomorrow wanting to play the game, they won't be able to. That's the answers. They won't be able to log in.
Well, I think that one of the first things that we need to focus on, and this is just as a developer as well, personally, we need to fix or figure out how to enable large battles in single nodes. I don't remember if you remember, there was the battle against Odin Seed at their Minnow Dungeon, Stronghold.
Yeah.
That was a fight of about 600 people total involved on a single node. About 50% of those people were frozen and died.
Crashing.
Yes.
I know how to do it, and I don't think Mortal can do it right now, because the answer for their solution, the way that they've developed the game, is a wall of money, a giant pile of money.
Mm.
Because they have server meshing down to such a science with this game that
Mm-hmm.
you can have fights on node lines seamlessly. Unless it's a ton of people like what you're referencing. If it's 50 players fighting on a node line, it works, and that doesn't work in any other game currently. So they've got that system figured out. So the way that you scale it up is you just add more servers. Basically, you add more node lines, and you just do some basic math. If we put everybody shoulder to shoulder in this game, how many people can we fit in an area? Make the node that big. Then we physically cannot have more people in that area than the server can handle, and it would take a ton of money from them, because you'd have to add a ton of node lines, and it would be the equivalent of burning money. But you could, in theory, have an unlimited amount of people if your node line, or if your node design philosophy is the node is as big as it can physically sustain. We can fit X number, like the maximum occupancy of a building. When you see the fire department thing on the side, you can only have 50 people in this building, otherwise it becomes a fire hazard. Same thing, we can only have 50 people in this node line before the server's going to start to crash.
Right.
So we just make more nodes, and then you could have fights with thousands of people. They just happen to be fighting on like 20 different nodes at the same time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, but there's even recorded content. I think it was Lourdes, actually. I don't know if anybody watched that perspective, but you clearly show him just lagging, crashing, relogging, getting back in, crashing. I'm hoping that there's a solution being worked for that currently. As you mentioned, it's going to be a difficult process for Star Vault, specifically with the way they've pre-wired everything.
Yep.
But I definitely think that's something that should be looked at as a primary, instead of worrying about how many we can handle at once on the total server itself. just because there are going to be occasions where there may be a Krampus event in Tindrum, right? I feel like a lot of people, if we had the population, there's going to be a shit ton of fucking people in there, right? We're looking at probably, if we did have the, proposed population of 10,000, right? This is what the server is capable of. What do we do when there's 2,000 people, 3,000 people all gathered in Tindrum just for the Krampus event?
It just wouldn't work. It would fail.
Right. So we really got to figure out, does UE5 have the technology available? Is it something that could be developed by the team? I personally think it's something that they're going to have to wait for UE5 or Unreal to come out with, because that type of technology is not easy to develop, and it takes many years and a lot of fucking money just to get developed, right? I mean, look at, I know it's a horrible example, but let's look at Star Citizen, right? They're a company that has billions of dollars tossed at it, and they still have a mediocre game. I mean, I can't say it's mediocre. They've done a decent job, but it doesn't provide at all what the original goal was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not the vision yet.
Right, and then the same thing kind of goes for
Ashes
of Creation. No, I did not.
I actually made this video comparing Star Citizen and Mortal Online and their server meshing technology. Exactly what we're talking about.
Oh wow. Okay, I might have to give that a watch. I'm not gonna lie, I've never taken a look at your YouTube channel before.
No worries.
Yeah.
So, real quick, do you understand how the dynamic server meshing works for Star Citizen compared to Mortal Online?
No, I've not done a comparison.
So, server meshing has been around for a while. Static node server meshing is what Mortal uses. Mortal happens to do it better than anybody else.
Correct.
So you can fight on node lines, but it hasn't always been the case. You probably remember fighting on node lines and having tons of issues.
Right.
Star Citizen just started to develop this technology, just started to develop static node lines.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody is freaking out about Star Citizen becoming the vision. It's finally coming into fruition about what it's supposed to be, and they're getting tons of credit, where Mortal has been doing it for years. Now, what Star Citizen is trying to do is arguably a little bit more complex, and the next step of their development is going to be something called dynamic server meshing, where, let's say in Mortal Online terms, 2,000 people descend on Tindrum, like in your example.
Right.
What dynamic server meshing will do is it will automatically spin up additional servers and start making them smaller and smaller. So maybe there's a dedicated server now for the bank because there's 50 people in the bank, and that server handles nothing but the bank, and then it handles that seamless transition like we have in Mortal today, where you go from one node to the other when you leave the bank. So Star Citizen is moving towards dynamic server meshing. Mortal does not have that. So Mortal does things better than Star Citizen today. It's not always going to be the case. They do. What's up, Douglas? But they're two different things. The main thing is Star Citizen is just now starting to do what Mortal's been doing for years, and they're getting all of the praise from everybody out there. In my video, I have clips of Level Cap saying that the crazy guys at CIG have done it again. They've done something nobody's ever done before. Meanwhile, we've been playing Mortal for years, going over node lines, walking from the jungle to Tindrum without a single loading screen.
Right.
So Star Citizen has higher aspirations, but right now they're currently behind Mortal.
Oh yeah, 100%. It is interesting. And the same thing kind of goes for Ashes of Creation. I don't know if you followed that at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So Ashes of Creation is trying to attempt their grand MMO, right? They have all these huge aspirations, yet they were thrown at with a ton of money and have really failed, honestly, in my opinion, to develop what they are trying to accomplish. I actually was taking a lot of interest in their game to take a look at how the server stress test they've been doing for their alpha testing. And there's been so much negative PR. How are you able, one of the comments I was reading, how are we able to toss or have so much money invested in this game and you're not able to have 100 people in a single area?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's interesting. People haven't figured it out yet. I mean, even for perspective, even Google failed at this. they tried to do I forget what it was called, the cloud-based gaming, and one of the biggest pitches for them was unlimited players in unlimited space. Basically, we can doesn't matter, server population will no longer be a thing. They couldn't even figure it out.
Right.
So this is slowly becoming a thing. Mortal is ironically ahead of everybody on it, which is so interesting because it's clearly something you just can't throw money at. Star Citizen has $750 million in funding at this point, and Mortal Online is 5 dudes in Sweden or whatever. So it's interesting to draw that comparison. One thing, can I sidebar us for a second, because I have a really good idea that I want to pitch in front of Henrik.
Yeah, go for it, bro.
So I talked with another member of the community to kind of make this idea a thing. You played World of Warcraft back in the day. Do you remember the really famous event when the corrupted blood got spread from Hakar and started killing people out in the world? And it was like a CDC investigation to how the people would react to a disease spreading through the world. Do you remember when that happened? Or have you heard of it at least? Yes? No? Maybe? No, I'm talking to you.
Oh, you're talking to me? Oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Have you heard of that event when the corrupted blood spread from the raid boss and started killing people in town and people treated it like a plague?
Yeah. No, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So what I want to see in Mortal, my idea is we do that, but in Mortal. And for the Halloween event, we pick a person, I'll volunteer as Patient Zero, and they get infected with a debuff called Zombie or something.
Right.
And if I kill somebody, they also become infected. But because Mortal Online is one world and you have one character, people will flock to the hills. They'll do everything that they would do that they did in WoW to avoid getting infected. And then you give rewards after a week based on playtime. So how long, the top people get X rewards, so whatever it is. Say it's like 1,000 gold. If you're on the top of the leaderboard for survived, like time in game and not infected, you get a big reward. And then on the flip side of it, if you're infected, you get rewards based on how many people you infect.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're incentivized to go out there and kill people
right.
and get them infected. And I talked through it with another person to kind of get rid of all the ways that you would like cheese it, if you like hide in town or stuff like that. But it would be viral from a marketing perspective because you'd be talking about, that you could see the headlines. Mortal Online infects its players with new disease, people run to the hills type of stuff. And you'd have roving packs of zombies looking to kill anybody they find out in the world. You'd have bastions of safe zones that you'd have keeps that people would let, get in here, man, get in the keep. Like they're coming, right? And you'd have that type of scenario. And that would be a much better Halloween event than some funny looking zombies in the graveyard.
Dude, fuck yes. I love that, man. That would actually be super huge on the game. I feel like a seasonal event like that would be game changing to the player base. I think you're onto something, honestly, right now. That's huge.
Yeah, Henrik, shoot me a message, man. We'll talk about it. I went through it with another member of the community to talk about all the ways that you cheese it, like hiding under the map and stuff, and how you could make it so that people like actually take it seriously. We could talk about it. I would love to make that a thing. I'll be Patient Zero, and I'll go kill people.
Hey, holy shit. That's actually, I love the aspect of Halloween zombie event, right? But I never really thought about it in the sense of implementing it into a game like Mortal until you just pitched it the way you did. That's awesome. How long have you been thinking about that?
Like it, like a week, and I've been talking through it with some other people before I pitched it to Henrik.
Oh shit!
To make sure that it would actually be doable.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's super good. I love that. That creativity is huge. Yeah, Henrik's got to hit you up for that 100%.
Yes, Henrik's already in the chat. I like it. You don't have to even kill them. You need to be near them, right? Oh my gosh, that would be great. That's... like miasma or something.
Oh my god, we got COVID in the game introduction. Is that what I'm hearing?
Dude, it would be viral, man. It would be so cool.
That would be so cool. I think that is something that... and that's actually not even that hard to develop either. it would simply be a coded effect. It'd be like a customized seasonal ability for the infected, right?
Yeah, basically be a debuff, and
Right.
there's a couple ways you could do it. You could even make it to the point where if you're infected, you apply the ritual pet skin. You know how the ritual pets, they have like the flesh missing and stuff
Right.
like that. You could apply that to the person's character to visually communicate that they're infected. And if you really wanted to be an asshole, you could make it so that the guards will kill them and they're not allowed in town, which would be, holy shit, that would be intense.
That would be insane.
But you'd have to, you know, a couple different things we've already thought about. You'd have to make it so that people don't get credit on the leaderboard if they're inside of a keep, and they don't get credit inside of town. So you can't just like hide in town from the zombies. But if you're standing near someone and they get infected, that would be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, it should be like a survival time of when you're out in the open world.
Yeah, I would in an ideal world, you'd open up a menu, like you'd have your guild menu.
Yeah.
But there would be a leaderboard, and it would show top kills, like top infected, like how many people you've infected, and then you'd also have the living leaderboard that would have a running time for how long they've survived in the game. And you could actually look at the leaderboard and see who is logged in right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe I log in and I see, oh, Diffreal's time is going up and he's in second place. I know where he hangs out. I'm going to go see if I can find that fucker and infect him. You know? That type of thing would be so fun.
No, I think that is something that needs to be thoroughly talked about. I 100% go for that, 100%.
Yeah, Henrik, let's workshop it, man. I'll help design it.
Anyways, yeah, shit, dude. You got me thinking about that now, too, though. Like, how fucking cool would that be?
Yeah. Guilds would be fighting each other, man. You're infected. Get the fuck away from me.
Right. It would be like inner fighting.
I don't care
if
you're my brother. You're not my brother until Friday. You know?
Right. That would be fucking sick.
And if you made the rewards like pretty nutty,
right?
Either they're like one-time available collectibles that you could never get elsewhere, or like a stack of gold, something ridiculous, like things that are powerful enough to motivate people to actually engage with the mechanics. You'll see some crazy shit. You'll hear about the guy who like he was in game, but he was like hiding in some crack of the Minnow dungeon, dodging minotaurs for like a week straight. You know, like random shit like that. And that's how he got first place.
Oh fuck me, bro. Oh shit, that's good.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I have something I don't want to say on stream. I have an idea, and with your creative mind, I have a feeling that we could pitch something to Henrik that would help the game a lot.
Yeah, we can talk about it off stream.
Yeah, that's gonna. I think I got a great idea. Holy shit, you got me thinking now, man. You have me in this like kind of mindset that I want to actually do something, because like. You probably don't know this, but I attempted to make an MMO on Unity during.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the beginning of COVID, actually. Worst time. I had 19 employees, and our game, I was funding everything by myself. I needed more money, so I started a Kickstarter. And a fucked up part about it is there was like 3 different scam Kickstarters that got released and finished as I was just beginning my Kickstarter. So people immediately thought my shit was a scam as well. Right? So,
that's brutal.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of hilarious, because at the exact same time, Mortal Online 2 was actually in development when I was making my game as well. Mortal Online 2 was still in development and had not been released into alpha yet. I remember that the game I wanted to make ended up being exactly what Mortal ended up being. Just from a perspective, like just to kind of put that in perspective for you. So Henrik ended up successfully making the game that I always wanted to make. And that's why I think that I really want to assist him in making this a popular game.
Yeah, Henrik, we're available. Hire us.
I only code in C#. I don't do C++. I don't do C++.
I'm a design guy. I'm an idea guy.
I've done 3D model work, and I do coding in C#. I don't do. No, I can't do C++. It's the same thing basically, but no, not happening.
Yeah, Mortal's in my top 3 for sure. It might even be my favorite game of all time. I'd love for this game to be successful, and it's come so far since it was released, and people forget about all the little things that they've done. But you know, I'm at the point where I'm complaining about quality of life things more than big things. You know, there's no longer the spiritism bug where people can transport stacks of gold for free across the map. Like those major things are all gone. And it's really a quality of life thing at this point. So, you know, Henrik, I know you're watching. You're doing a good job. Just keep it up. Everybody likes Mortal. At least people that are playing it like Mortal. And we want to see it be successful.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. But hey, one thing I was really thinking about too, though, I know this is kind of a little bit off topic. But do you think you see from a perspective any shifts in power anytime soon in game?
Politically?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what do you think? Yeah, do you think there'll be any different? You know how Tasu makes the videos, right?
Actually, no. Is he making videos?
Yeah.
You'll have to send it to me. What are they? They're about political stuff?
He does the Game of Thrones parody shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I would love to see that. That sounds great.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a video of Kodo killing random blueberries in Meduli.
Okay.
Keepers of the Oath. It's kind of funny how contradicting Kodo has been. It's very interesting to see how that occurs with the new alliance that's being formed to take him on. We'll see how that goes. Where is that?
You mean the secret alliance that nobody knows about yet? That one?
That one. The one that no one knows about. Okay, here we go. Throwing this bitch on. I hope I don't get muted for this on Twitch. Because it does have the Game of Thrones background music.
Oh, yeah. Then you will definitely get muted. Oh, this is dope. It's got the map and everything.
Yeah.
I have to watch this. This seems good. Damn, look at the quality here. What?
It's okay, we're winning.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make that. I'm gonna have to watch this. This seems good.
So this is his second video he's done on this, and he shows the change of power and the keeps, you know, the keeps changing.
Yeah. So what do I think about those?
Yeah, what do you think, like, on a personally, where do you think that there will be any shifts in power anytime?
So I think that the coalition tied with Odin is at best. They were allied against what they perceived as a bigger, greater enemy.
Right.
The Nightmares, the Levias, Contents, and Mythics, and all those guys, they're all sweaty PvPers. And so if you put yourself in the shoes of a Kodo player, you know, they have a small handful of really good players, but the majority of their players are garbage. And they've come out to scrim against Mythic several times. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've ever lost a single round against them in any scrim. So you put yourself in their shoes. You have to operate under the mindset of we are weak players. What can we do to win? And the easiest answer, not just in Mortal, but every game, especially Rust,
right,
is just get more people. That's the answer, is just get more people.
Mm-hmm.
But when that unifying enemy leaves or exits, like Nightmare is gone, then what do? Where do you find entertainment? Because we're all playing a game to be entertained, and nobody's going to log in if it's boring.
Right.
So, you know, a quick story: when I was playing New World, I ran a guild of about 80 players. There was another 800-man Zerg that joined the server and took over every single territory except for ours up in the corner of the map. They had won 50 wars in a row, and our guild was the first guild that ever beat them. So we were the first guild to stop them. Mm-hmm. Eventually, that was a huge motivating rally for everybody else on the server. We got to be the best team in the game, handpick who.
Oh, got disconnected again.
From them. I don't know if I lost you there for a second.
You just lost me for a second. I got you back in now.
Okay, so Big Zerg came into the server, took over the server. We were the first people to beat them. That was a rallying cry. And we were able to pick who we wanted to play with, so we were able to recruit anybody that we wanted. That eventually led to us taking the capital cities and this other guild disbanding themselves. They quit when we took the capital cities. The problem there was the unifying target was then gone. We had nothing to do anymore. The reason that we existed was to destroy them, and they are no longer a thing. So now Nightmare is gone. Who are they going to fight? There's nobody really left to fight. All of these guys are taking a break. And they might come back. They might not. So who do we fight now?
Right.
And the next answer is each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll find a reason to not be buddy-buddy anymore. And they can say whatever it is, but the real reason is, the scary guys are gone. So now we can fight amongst each other. So I think that there's going to be some big battles between them, and that their alliances that were basically built out of fear of stronger opponents is going to dissolve faster than you'd think.
Yeah, because there's a lot of political stuff going on, a lot of shit, should I say, with Kodo recently in recent news. So actually I heard from a guild of the Coalition that they actually were the reason why Odin Seed left their quote-unquote alliance with each other. So Carney had stepped away.
So that's already happened? Odin Seed bounced?
Yeah, Odin Seed bounced about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay. And it was actually hilarious. I was watching Barados' stream, and I saw Caden, who's in he's ungilded.
Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, he actually went up to Barados on his stream and said, "Congratulations on leaving the Alliance. You have saved the game." And it was funny because he basically straight up just said, "You were killing the game by being allied with each other," which isn't entirely a false, but it's also not entirely, But anyways, regardless, I later find out from that statement, I did some investigation. I found out that there was actually coalition members that pushed away Odin Seed from their alliance. And so there's actually been some friction going between the two alliances, or the two guilds.
Yep.
So, I completely agree. I could see something happening in the future between those two.
So funny.
But the question is, Odin Seed currently has 3 keeps in the game.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're going to take Kodo Keep and ES Keep? Or is Kodo actually going to reach out to some people that unlikely allies and work on removing those keeps from OS?
Well, I don't think they're going to attack them.
Right. That's, of course, because they stick to
everything
themselves.
That I've seen, yeah, exactly. Everything I've seen from Coalition leadership is if you're running a guild that size, which I've done before, I've led big groups of players. One of the biggest challenges from a leadership perspective is keeping people interested and keeping activity high. People get bored and they log out and they don't come back, and that hurts your guild. So Coalition, largely, their gameplay loop has been reinforce the desert, and they have no interest in going out and taking keeps that are on the other side of the planet, because logistically, A, they probably wouldn't win the fight, B, it overextends them, C, it leaves them exposed, and even if they took it, what do they get for it?
Right.
They get ego points, which is, who cares? So what they really care about is being able to keep their players engaged, keep activity high. Old Guard is a perfect example. When was the last time you saw Old Guard do anything of note at all?
Oh yeah, 100%.
They don't do shit.
Yeah.
But if you go to Old Guard Keep and you stand on top of their keep and you look in any direction, there's a stronghold.
Right.
Like if you were on, going around the compass, about every 10 degrees you look down, there's an Old Guard Keep there. Why?
Right.
Why does that exist? The answer is they have to keep their players engaged in a game with not much content coming out. So their gameplay loop, or at least the way that Coalition exists and keeps their players playing, is we have to fortify for the enemy. The enemy is coming. The maskless figure is out in the distance and they hate us. You see Demo Man's videos, he says fuck Kodo all the time. He's coming eventually, or whoever it is, they're coming. So we must prepare. And that goal can never be satiated. So that's how you keep your players motivated.
Well,
and
there's
going
also a
back
lot
in.
of like false narratives being created, though. It's kind of crazy, and then people are actually buying into these false narratives. Like we mentioned earlier, the propaganda game is so strong. Like people just take
Yep.
whatever they hear at face value and just go along with it.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
So funny story. People knew that I wanted to discover the necro stuff ahead of everybody else, and they knew that I knew things that other people, that 99.9% of the population didn't know.
Right.
So I went into Hendrick's stream one day and started talking about a new book vendor that I found at the bottom of Sausage Lake that was selling necromancy books for 5,000 muse fruit. And somebody actually took that at face value, swam out there with 5,000 muse fruit, searched the entire bottom of the lake, and messaged me saying they drowned several times. Where is the vendor? So you can get people to believe anything in this game. Man.
Oh yeah. I mean,
disinformation and propaganda is definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I love it, and then I hate it. You know, like, I wish people would just take a moment and do the research. Ask the question why, because there's just so much shit that just goes down in this game that is just so false, and it's very entertaining, but it's also just so mind-blowing how like simple a lot of people are. So what I'm like basically saying for people that are listening to this, just ask the question why, because I hate to say it, but there's a lot of things that are said by people of note, one being Cathara, and I think people just need to like ask themselves if what he's saying true or not. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to push that any further than it needs to go. And it goes for a lot of other people too, obviously. But I want you to just think about that one. Anyways, shit. What was I thinking out here? Yeah, so we got the possible war incoming with Odin Seed and Kodo clashing. There's an alliance gathering that wants to fight the two alliances. It's honestly just a waiting game at this point. We're going to see what happens, and hopefully the next Game of Thrones parody, Episode 3, will show something different.
What I would prefer, but I don't really know how to go about it, and I think Barados is probably one of the only ones that could make it happen, is the community just gets together and just fucking dukes it out. And we just have big-ass fucking fights. Like, everybody that's logging, not everybody, but the majority of players want to do big-ass fights. Just, it doesn't matter what gear you bring, that we just drop a pin on the map and we say, okay, here's where we're fighting at this time, fucking show up. And then like everybody brings their fucking A game and they go out there and we just fucking duke it out.
Just bang.
Why don't we do that, man? That would be fun as shit.
I think that's something that we should discuss amongst the content creator Discord. I think that's something that we should actually genuinely do, because I do believe on there, let me just double check, there is a channel on there that does have an event there's an event planning channel on there. Yeah. We could actually probably pitch that. I think Barados...
Henrik, let Ramo do his events, bro. He keeps saying in the official Discord that you stopped him from doing events. With the lore. Let him do events, man. Let him pick a place, and then we all meet up there and we fucking kill each other. Like, that's what this game's all about. I want to do big fights, and right now, everybody's just dick-teasing each other. Nobody wants to actually commit. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it would be fucking awesome. Oh, by the way, Danny just messaged me back.
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Oh, is he? Oh, shit. Danny, we wanted to get you in here, and we wanted you to be on the show today with me and Demo. I'm going to get you next week. I want to get you and Demo in the same room.
Yeah, because we hate each other. I really don't have a huge problem with him. I think he's... Yeah. I'll keep it to myself, but...
Alright, well, for sure. But hey, I'm actually going to cut it there. You're probably going to see Demo Man back on the channel. I think this was a great fucking podcast.
Henrik, hit me up, dude. Let's talk about the zombie event. I'll be patient zero. Trust me, your whole world will get infected. And It'll be a good time.
But yeah, if you're listening to this, please go ahead. Check out Damaman0351 on YouTube. This will also be reposted up on Spotify and on YouTube. Thank you so much. You guys have a great rest of your night. Take care. See you next week.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What goes around